Hello and welcome. If you are looking for more peace, joy, confidence, and abundance in your life, especially as we're going into the holiday season, then this is the episode for you. Welcome, Alison Jacobson.
Thank you so much for having me on your program.
Wow. Well, I can't believe we get to dig in. And I just mentioned the peace, joy, confidence, and abundance. And that's coming from your latest book. And we will definitely share that information with our listeners for some daily inspiration. So I wanted to dig in a little bit lighter. Sometimes I go too deep, too fast. I'm a little serious. And I wanted to start with your fun fact. And I don't always give people a chance to say what their fun fact is and why they do it. Would you like to share that?
I don't know if I'd call it a fun fact, but it's a real fact. I constantly post unflattering photos of myself. And that started over a year ago when I was training to run the New York City Marathon. And I would just post, literally sweat dripping from me, just not looking good at all, my hair up, no makeup, because everybody needs to see that's reality. In this world where so many people have these curated social media feeds, it's it's intimidating to people, it's disheartening to people. You need to keep it real. And I think when you get into midlife, you just don't care. It's all about being real.
Absolutely. And it's not caring about ourselves, but not putting so much weight on the opinions of other people or how we need to present perfectly, right?
Oh, so true. It's taking that drama, that pressure off of yourself and just loving who you are.
Absolutely. So we are going to dig right in. And you did just mention the New York City Marathon. I know it's coming up in November, and this will be airing after that fact. But tell me, what was your journey to that marathon? Because it's a lot about persevering.
It is persevering. So I'll back up. In 1997, my first baby died of sudden infant death syndrome. He was 3 months and 24 days old. And right at that time, this was before Facebook, this was before the internet to a great degree. And I joined a group, SIDS Alliance. I sat on their board of directors because I felt like I needed to give back. I needed that community. I needed that support, but I wanted to help. And so, fast forward, I went on to have three more kids. But in 2016, SIDS Alliance, which had become First Candle, came calling and asked me to become their CEO. And so it was really full circle. It was that last missing puzzle piece. And I became the CEO of First Candle, in addition to my work as a coach and a speaker and an author. And First Candle is one of the charity partners for the New York City Marathon. And so we have had a team of marathon runners for over 12 years. And every year I would go to the marathon and I would cheer everybody on. And for those of your listeners who haven't ever been to the New York City Marathon, the energy is just incredible. It just lifts you up. And I am not an athlete. I was a theater geek. I did not have an athletic goal. But when you see this, I said to myself in 2021, I'm going to run the New York City Marathon when I'm 60. And then I stopped myself and I said, that is BS. As a coach, you are just putting something off. Why are you putting off? So I said, I'm going to run the marathon next year, which at that time was 2022. And I was turning 57. Now, the reason I did it is because I wanted a fitness goal, but it was also the 25th anniversary of my son's death. And I said, I survived one of the worst traumas anyone could experience. If I could survive that, I can run a marathon. And so I went from running 1 mile to 26 miles in a year.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Unbelievable. I
Yeah.
love the mindset shift of, if I can survive the loss of my child, I can run a marathon. And the backstory and full circle moment. I mean, whoa, my mind is just trying to catch up on all those beautiful pieces that came together for part of your healing journey and as the CEO, and to stop being a spectator and to be a runner
Yeah.
and to keep going. Whoa.
Yeah.
So, what were your main lessons? I know you just shared about, well, I can do anything, but what are the main lessons you learned from training for that marathon that you think apply to women in midlife?
Well, I think one of the top ones is the limiting beliefs we all have. And like I said, I was never an athlete. And so all, leading up to this, I was like, I can't do it. I can't run. And then all of a sudden, I had my great and powerful why. And when you have that why, those limiting beliefs go right out. And so when I was training, it was, November, December in the beginning, it was cold. So I was training inside at the Y and I was on a treadmill and I had a picture in front of me of my son, my best friend who had died of cancer the year before, and then just two random women running the marathon. And I just kept that image in my head the entire time. And so having a vision board, having that vision of why you're doing something can help you overcome any limiting belief personally or professionally.
Wow. Wow. I mean, it really comes down to, yes, figure out what is limiting you and what's that why to get you through it.
Exactly. And the other one that's so big for women is imposter syndrome. So again,
Yes.
it was interesting because once it got nice outside, I was running and I had gone from running 1 mile to 3 miles and then up to 7 miles. And I'd be running around my town in the mornings and I'd see these other runners who were decked out in their running gear and all serious. And I'm like, wow, they're really runners. I'm not that. And I went home and my husband's like, you're running 7 miles now. You are indeed a runner. And it took somebody saying that to me to realize, okay, I am. I am a runner now. But for women, we just have this imposter syndrome that we are not that thing. We are not successful enough, or we'll work our way into a job, but then they're going to find us out. They're going to discover our failures. And so you have to surround yourself with people who are going to remind you that you are that incredible person. You are that powerful person. And not just, blowing smoke at you, but legitimately showing you these are the proof points of why this is not imposter, why you are who you are. And so I think that's another really powerful lesson I learned. And then the other lesson, and I just talked about this with a coaching client yesterday. You need to see your end goal without a doubt. You need to see yourself succeeding, but you also need to see yourself stumbling and falling because
Okay.
along the way, you are going to stumble. And if you have not mentally prepared yourself for that, if you have not seen yourself doing that, you're going to stop. And so with the marathon, yes, I envisioned myself crossing that finish line, but I also knew that at mile 16, that's one of the hardest miles because before that, you're running through Brooklyn. And I can't tell you the crowd, there's a band at every mile. The crowd just swarms out into the street, and you can only run single file because they are just high fiving you, and the energy is amazing. And then you get to 16 Mile, which is the Queensboro Bridge, and it's silent. There's no one on the bridge. There's no music. All you hear is the breath of the other runners and the pounding of the feet. And that's when your mind starts playing tricks on you because all of a sudden you went from this surging crowd to nothing. And you're running up an incline, a pretty steep incline. And so I was prepared for that. Everybody told me. So I envisioned myself feeling weak, feeling that I had to get that energy up over that hump. Because if I hadn't seen those trials, those hard times, I couldn't have made it to my end goal. So you've got to see your stumbles. You've got to see how you're going to overcome them, expect them so that you can get to the finish line.
Oh, wow. That's really important for our listeners and the viewers over on YouTube because you need to not just see yourself crossing that finish line, but anticipate those challenges, those low points when you feel alone, when you feel like you've got that leg cramp, when your hip is giving out, when you've got to use the bathroom, all those things that marathoners face of the yep, I might have to pause. I might have to slow down. I might have to walk a mile. Um, and then knowing that you've set up those success things, once you cross that bridge, literally, that then there's going to be more support waiting for you. And
Yeah.
what is that in the background for our viewers over on YouTube?
So exciting. That is my medal from last year. And, I have to tell you, Hillary, like I said, the reason I ran that marathon was because of my son. Now, daylight savings time, it was dark, and runners have a different time they start, and the beginners are way late. I didn't start till 11:30. And honestly, my only goal was to finish before the street sweeper was coming. That's all I cared about. Just wanted
That's
to
a
do
good,
that. And it was dark. It was 6:30 when I finished, but that elation, I have a picture of me in the dark screaming and crying because I knew my little angel was running with me and I had done it.
oh, I need a minute on that. I'm like, wow. And you're talking about when you've crossed the finish line, it
Yeah.
was dark. So you
Yeah.
started and it was 11:30 in the morning,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whew. Well, you had your strong vision. You already knew what your obstacles were going to be, but you also had that clear vision of, I want to finish before the street
Yeah.
sweeper is finished up.
Exactly.
Right. And just knowing, sometimes my goal for my half marathon was I don't want to be last.
Yeah.
And I set a random time goal. I'm like, let me see if I can do 2 hours.
Right.
And when I got my results, 1 hour, 59 minutes, 59 seconds.
That gives me chills. That's
And
incredible.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I just made up that number. But no, we discount ourselves as women.
Mhm.
I set a goal, I did the training, I did the preparations, I did the nutritional support, I did the hydration support, I did a whole lot of Epsom salt baths. Uh, and then I made it.
Yeah.
And that was very lucky because that was on flat land. I'm sure
Wow.
if it was New York,
Yeah.
it would have been much, much more difficult. Oh my goodness. I just love your powerful vision. I feel like we could just spend the whole episode talking about that. But I wanted to go back about navigating not just like a personal goal, like you with the New York City Marathon, with the clear intention of overcoming and supporting the SIDS Alliance, and but also in your professional life. And you're an overcomer, not just of the loss of your son,
Mm.
but you've also dealt with so much more. So let's talk a little bit about deciding to persevere when family life is not going as you wish. What would you like to say about that?
Well, so there's two parts to that. The first part was I went through a horrific divorce, had to declare bankruptcy because all of the debt was in my name. And I actually work with women a lot about becoming financially independent and smart. From a business standpoint, I was so smart about money, but I took my eye off the ball personally. Big mistake. And so I had to declare bankruptcy. And that was a humbling experience beyond belief, but it was also the best experience because, man, that taught me how to rebuild, never go back to that place, and how you can live without credit cards. You can make it on your own and understand that money doesn't have to be scary. Money is energy and you can control it. And so that was a huge lesson for me. I rebuilt my business. It became very successful. I got remarried to a man who was a former pro golfer. Unfortunately, 4 weeks after we were married, he was diagnosed with primary progressive MS. And he went from walking at our wedding to being in a power chair full time within 5 years. Now, my son, who was born after my first son died, has severe intellectual disabilities. My mother also lives with us. So, in addition to being the sole breadwinner in my family, I had my three kids, one who has intellectual disabilities, my mother living with us, and my husband who I was a caregiver for. So I'm a caregiver for three generations in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
just the fact that you show up and can smile, right? I think is a resilience and overcoming and persevering message for people because someone listening would be like, "Oh yeah, nope, tap out, I'm out. That's too much for any one person." So, where do you get your source of strength?
Well, it's interesting because so many people do say, I could never do what you do. I could never survive that. You know what? You never, everybody has a story. Everybody survives. We don't have a choice. You have two choices. You can crawl up in a ball and die, or you can do something and go on with your life and not just survive, but thrive because you get one shot at life. And that goes back to the great and powerful why. Why are you choosing to do what you do? And if you're going to do it, man, you better do it to the best of your ability. When my husband was diagnosed with MS, I said to him, I will support you for the rest of my life, but you have to find your passionate why. Now, I told you he had been a pro golfer. He couldn't golf anymore. But what he did find was an organization called the Stand Up and Play Foundation that has something called the Paramobile. It straps you into a golf cart, takes you out to the hole, stands you up, and allows you to play golf. And what he does now is he teaches military vets, stroke victims, and people with intellectual disabilities how to play golf. He found that passion and joy.
Wow. Wow. For just the listeners and who can't see my face, that's just amazing. And professionally, I'm an occupational therapist.
Oh,
And so my job is to help people find solutions so they can do their work, play, self care, and find that deep meaning in their life.
yeah.
And so, what an incredible opportunity. And as a spouse to a retired Marine, all those things just hit home with me, Alison.
Yeah.
So good for you for speaking that kind of truth into your husband of like, hey, I'm here for you. You got to find your why.
Yeah. Yeah. And my kids helped me tremendously. My son, and talk about full circle, right? My son has intellectual disabilities. He's this 6'3" strapping kid who's amazing. And because I needed help because my husband couldn't, what I cared about is he snow blows, he mows the lawn, he takes out the garbage, he does all of this physical stuff. He can't drive a car, but my husband has a car that the chair is the driver's seat with hand controls. So what happens is those things that my husband can't do, my son can do, and vice versa. And I truly believe to this day that we were brought together because these two men were meant to complete each other and help each other.
Oh my gosh, Alison, like that is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And they need each other and they're
Yes.
needed. And I
Yes.
find in caregiving and healthcare, it's not really fun to always be cared for. It's
No.
so meaningful to be able to contribute and to give back. And so to have this beautiful link intertwining in your family chain that everybody needs each other.
Yeah. And that, to answer your question, is how I keep going on. I give because the power of giving, the
Mm.
power of volunteering and giving to others is what really inspires people. People want to feel needed, like you said. And when I can give and I can help one woman not go through the trials and the tribulations I did with my divorce or with my bankruptcy and make her strong and confident to stand on her own, I've won.
You have won. Ooh, wow. Well, thank you for talking a little there so I could gather my composure a little bit. I knew your story would inspire so many others, and that's why I wanted to share so much of it. I know we talk about identifying the barriers, and I think you've really kind of considered, you already kind of shared the biggest barriers that hold women back, and it's mindset, disbelief, not having the powerful why, the imposter syndrome, and needing kind of those proof points. So you need to surround yourself with people who are going to speak that life into you, that believing for you when you don't have the belief, being strong for you when you don't have it.
Oh,
Was
man.
there
Yeah.
anything else you wanted to share about, hey, midlife women? Here's what I want you to know. If I could tell you one or two things, what would that be?
Loving boundaries, loving boundaries. There are many times that your well meaning adult children were going to say, Mom, running the marathon, I'm a little worried about your bones. Mom, you want to start a business at 50? I don't know. That's a little tricky. Mom, you want to go back to school? Why would you want to do that? They mean well, usually, but loving boundaries. That is not who you should be sharing those dreams with until you're taking action. It is finding those networks. It's finding that support from women, from organizations. I have my site, I have a Facebook group, Midlife Mavericks, where you need to find support from those people who are going to lift you up, who believe in you and are going to say to you, of course you can do it. Why not? And you have to create those boundaries. The biggest joke with my husband, he is kind of a half empty glass kind of guy. When I came home from the marathon in 2021, I said, I'm going to run the New York City Marathon next year. And he's like, oh, I don't know, honey. And I went, game on. And to this day, he laughs because it was that comment that said, oh, yeah, I'm not going to stop. I am going to see this through. Watch me.
Watch me. That is such a powerful take back your power, take back your voice moment. And I think we as 50-year-old women need each other in order to cheer each other on and say, don't listen to those adult children or well-meaning spouses who are just like, I don't know. You don't have to know. I know. I've got this in me. And so this is for all you listeners out there who are like, oh, I could never. Yes, you can. And you
The
don't
big
have to be alone.
No, and the biggest obstacle that we face is the word but. I just did a newsletter about this. I'd like to do this, but I want to lose 50 pounds, but that but is already our subconscious saying, don't try it. The ego saying, no, 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 I want you to stay where you are because the ego wants to protect itself. It doesn't like change. It likes knowing. And that word but is already in our head. And I challenge your listeners to change that but to an and.
That's
I want
right.
to do this and here's how I'm going to take the first step. I want to lose 50 pounds and I'm going to just walk around the block today to start.
It's the small steps that get that and then I'm going to add another mile. And then I'm going to add this one thing. And I'm going to reach out to fellow women for support. Absolutely amazing. Oh my goodness. I'm trying to look back over my notes. We're talking about, building resilience. And I think your first book, did I get the title right? Shut the Fear Up.
Yes. Yes. Shut the fear up because regret is in the past, fear is in the future. Unless you are truly being chased by a bear or something, there is no fear in the present moment. Right this second, as we are talking, there is no fear. Nothing.
We just showed up.
Yeah.
And, I'll be honest, I think this was our third trial to schedule this interview. And I knew it was meant to be when I read your bio, I read your one sheet, your team was on top of it. But, life is very complicated at this age. And women need to know that when things get complicated, you just keep going. Sometimes you have to adjust the day, sometimes it's the time. Just keep going and don't give up.
And also don't compare yourself. Again, when I was running the marathon and you talked about your time and everything, everybody's situation is different, right? Like there were people that were finishing in 3 hours and 4 hours. Great. I didn't train like that. I was at a different age. I was just doing this for me. And so, again, for those of you who are entrepreneurs out there, you're looking at somebody crushing it. Well, they might be crushing it because they have no kids, they have no other obligations, they're just living their business. But for me, having three people I'm caring for, it looks different. And so to be true to what your reality is and not compare it because everybody's at a different level and success and profits don't mean the same thing. I have a woman, she just wanted to rise to the top of her career and she did. She's CEO. That's wonderful. But she gave up a lot of time with her kids. She was okay with that. She decided that. But profit and success for somebody else might be, being able to volunteer 15 hours a month somewhere. That's
Yeah.
okay too.
Exactly. Oh, I love that, not comparing ourselves, because whether it's in a marathon and is this person, do they weigh less than me? Are they faster than me? Is their outfit cuter? Do they have those calf warmer socks that, oh, maybe I need those? It's like, oh, stop. Just stop. Run your race, cross the finish line for you. And I'll say I had a friend who just started running marathons, and she said, I didn't get my time. I'm like, wait a minute, you just ran your fourth marathon. Like, is that 15 minutes like your measure of success? Or because your daughters who were adopted and are amazing, they're going to look at their mom who's over 50 and say, holy cow, mom just ran another marathon.
Yeah, exactly. We are so fast to find the criticism within ourselves rather than give ourselves grace
That's
and
right.
accept that we are great. And I'll be honest, I mean, once I ran it, I started thinking, oh, well, anybody can do it. And it went, no, 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 no. There's only a small percentage of people who have completed a marathon. So be proud, take ownership of that.
Own that overcoming and persevering. Own that you made a decision and that you worked towards that goal. Oh, absolutely. Well, this whole series is going to come together so beautifully, because sometimes the decision is to ask for help. Sometimes the decision is to keep moving forward. Sometimes the decision is to find that financial consultant or that coach that can help you. And we're just going to continue these conversations with future guests. So, Alison Jacobson, wow, I, I'm so impressed and inspired and motivated by how you keep showing up for others, how you keep persevering to help and inspire. How can people get in touch with you?
So the best way is through my website, which is Alison-Jacobson, JACOBSON.com. And on Instagram, it's just underscore Alison Jacobson. And I have a freebie that you're going to be able to offer your clients too, which is 5 steps to release fear and live boldly, which can help overcome and persevere.
Amazing. And you're Allison with one L, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's important. So Allison-Jacobson.com. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for today. What a joy.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed meeting you and talking to your listeners.